Howdy, guys, and welcome to Cliff Notes, and welcome to recap of night number 45 of Big Brother Season 25. A good Saturday morning to y'all. All right, we had nominations yesterday. To remember, Jared had won HOH. We had the nominations yesterday. On the block for this week are America and Corey. Yeah, America and Corey are on the block. Wasn't looking good for Corey after he and Jared had their big fight Thursday afternoon before the eviction. And sure enough, he is on the block, as is America itself. Not a surprise to anyone watching the feeds or anyone in the house, as Jared had pretty much all day long, with all of his one-on-one meetings with everyone, had told everyone that Corey and America were going to be on the block. So no surprise with the nominations. Also, not really a surprise either is the fact that he's also told everyone Cameron is the actual target this week. It's going to be a backdoor of Cameron. That's the plan. So even though Corey and America are on the block, and you don't ever want to be on the block. Remember, pawns do go home, but they know the ultimate plan as well. And so I think they're thinking, hopefully everything works out. We'll talk about it with the feeds themselves. But because of the way the nominations took place, the veto competition today that's going to occur really comes down to this. If Cameron doesn't win the veto himself, he's almost certainly going home. Everyone has talked about him being the back door. Even people that kind of would support him, like American Corey, would prefer to have him go home, so they stay safe. So if Cameron doesn't get a chance to play veto, doesn't get the opportunity to win veto, he's going home. I don't think anyone else is even going to pick Cameron to play in the veto competition. His chip needs to be drawn. In fact, I think as America at one point last night said, anyone who picks Cameron to play in this veto, it's suicide for them, because then they become a target as well. So yeah, Cameron's going to have to depend on his chip being drawn randomly. 1 in 37.5% chance, if I did my math right. So a little over 1 in 3 chance Cameron's going to get a chance to play. Otherwise, probably it's the end of the road for Cameron this week. All right, if Cameron does win the veto, does get picked, does win veto, Cameron's safe, obviously. Then the question becomes, does he keep the nominations the same and let either America or Corey go home? Or more likely, perhaps, I think, is that he pulls probably America off the block and puts up possibly Jag alongside him, at which point possibly Jag going home, possibly Corey going home. That would be an uncertainty if Cameron wins this thing. Otherwise, who knows? In fact, the veto draw is perhaps the most important part of today, because if Cameron doesn't even get drawn, I'm not sure how much the veto competition itself really matters, which is unfortunate if it turns out to be an iconic veto such as Otev. It may be a little early for that, but you never know. They're getting close. So we shall find out, depending on what happens, veto draw and the veto competition itself. All right, now, having said all that, with this season, yeah, Cameron is the absolute target for everyone in that house. But I could see a point somewhere later in the week where Cirie and her side suddenly decide that America or Corey are much more dangerous. They're much more connected to everyone else, and that Cameron is all alone, and we can get Cameron out some other time. So let's flip again 40 or 50 times this week. This season, it's entirely possible, but we'll find out. I'm getting ahead of myself. So again, the veto drawing this morning is vital, and then we'll see what happens to the competition. All right, with all that being said, let's talk about the feeds that did take place last night. It was a little bit more of a chill night, but that doesn't mean there weren't important conversations that went on. There was a lot of talk yesterday and on into the evening about the arguments that took place Thursday afternoon, about all the lies, the alliances, everything that was exposed. People are all trying to rehash it. They're trying to put their own spin on it. The people who are in the room are trying to certainly tell the people who are outside the room what happened, while spinning it to benefit themselves as well. So we had a lot of that taking place throughout the day and the evening as well. But right after the feeds came back, almost immediately we see Jared and Blue talking. Now, remember, Blue had told us after the HOH, she was upset with Jared. She told the cameras, first chance she gets, she's booting him out the door. I don't really know whether she's being serious or she's just playing to us as viewers. Not sure. So I was certainly watching that this evening. So the feeds start up. We've got Jared and Blue talking. Jared is continuing to explain away everything to Blue that was brought up over the past 24 hours. He's apologizing to her for not including her enough, but he's also blaming everyone else for everything else, saying, it was them. They're trying to lie. They're doing this and that. He's saying that everyone else is lying, that he didn't have anything to do with it. He's just trying to play his game, and everyone else is hypocrites. On. He's trying to do what he can to bring Blue back into the fold. And maybe Blue is playing Jared still. Maybe she's not as tight as she perhaps was before, but she does seem to be buying it. She seems to be feeling comfortable with him and accepting the explanations that he's giving, even if she isn't quite on board. But she certainly seems like she is more than willing to continue to give him a chance. Earlier, she did mention, and keep this in mind, earlier she had told him before the nominations, she said, look, I am surprised that you would exclude me. I think she said that you would ice me, that you would ice me as much as you did, considering that I know that big secret about you. And I'm almost positive she's talking about him and Cirie being his mom, and saying, I can't believe that you would do that to me, knowing what I know about your secret. Is that a little bit of an implied threat from Blue? Just a reminder that she's got some information that maybe would not be something great to have the rest of the house find out. It certainly seemed like it to me. I think it caught Jared's attention as well, because a little bit later, he actually had a meeting with his mom, with Cirie, where he says, hey, I think Jag may be onto some stuff. And she said, what do you mean? He said, I don't know. I think maybe Izzy had maybe said some stuff, or maybe not Jag. I think it was Blue. Said, I think Izzy may have revealed a little bit more of this information. She may have spilled the beans before she headed out the door to America, I think, is maybe who it is. I can't remember this point, but the key is that Cirie says, yeah, I don't think Izzy would do that. I just don't feel like she would give that kind of information out. And Jared saying, no, I don't know. I just, the way Blue was talking. So maybe it was Blue that he had said maybe was catching on based on Izzy revealing information, and of course not himself. I don't know that Cirie's going to buy that once the word gets out. But anyway, he's trying to already do a little damage control just in case she does spill the beans. How fantastic, how amazing that week would be to watch if the secret is finally revealed. All right, so she does make a little bit of an implied threat with that. Jared at one point talking to her says, look, my word and my secrets are all I have in this game. Well, he hadn't kept either one of them very well so far. He does have one more thing in this game, and that's his mom, right? So yeah, he's got a few advantages here and there, but he's trying to let her know that he's going to be honest with her. He of course he doesn't lie. No, not to Blue. All right. Meanwhile, we've got Cory and America talking. They're in bed, hanging out with each other a little bit. Cory's pointing out that Cameron knows he's the backdoor target. He said he's smart. He understands that this is all a plan to backdoor him, and that's got him spiraling a little bit. They're talking about the best veto picks if either of them gets house guest choice. And there's talk about maybe picking Matt, picking Jag, definitely not picking Cameron. America at one point said, I don't want to pick him. I don't want to get house guest choice and face that dilemma itself. But they're talking about that. Now, one of the things they also talk about a little bit later is not just who would pick who, but how they decide who gets to pick out of the box first. So if more than two people get house guest choice, who gets to draw the chip first and decide? And if I recall from my season, the HOH always draws first, and then the first person who goes up on the memory wall, the first nominee is the first one to draw a chip, and then the other one draws a chip. I think there is rules to how the order is selected. But they talk about that as well. And the reason that's is important because Cameron walked in apparently and overheard them at the end talking about the order of how they decide who picks first. Based on that, he understands that there's a lot of discussion about who would pick who, and that leads to him realizing that maybe no one wants to pick him at all. And we'll have discussions on that in just a second. All right, we've got Cirie and Matt are talking to each other. Matt has been friendly to everyone on Cirie's side since Jared won the HOH on Thursday night. But Is it him trying to cover all bases? Is it part of a plan for him, part of the plan for him to distance himself from Corey and America, which they had talked about, that he was going to try to not look like he was too tight with them in order to protect those two a little bit more. But Matt certainly hanging out in the HOH room, laughing with them. They spent a lot of time yesterday up in the HOH room making fun of people downstairs, watching them go back and forth and saying, oh, are they getting ready to come upstairs? Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And oh, they've been spending a lot of time in the bathroom, really just kind of being the gallery, the peanut gallery, watching everyone downstairs through the HOH monitor. So they do have that. So Matt's upstairs talking to Cirie. Cirie is mentioning that she had asked Felicia if she could give Izzy a mercy vote on the Thursday night deals. Remember, Felicia or Cirie's the only person who voted to send Felicia out the door instead of Izzy. Well, it turns out that she apparently had asked Felicia ahead of time, are you okay doing that? It's important because if that is the case, if Cirie approached Felicia ahead of time, it's much less likely that Felicia is going to feel like she was betrayed by anyone in that house. I don't know if she understands how close she came to getting booted on Thursday night. But as it turns out, 8 people voted to support her. She's got to feel well about that. If Cirie phrased it as just it's a mercy vote to help Izzy, then Felicia may still be feeling like she's very tight with Cirie and Jared at this point, which isn't necessarily the case. But she does say that she asked that ahead of time. All right, with regard to Matt acting a little bit closer to this side, a little bit more on that. Earlier in the day, Matt and Blue and Cirie and Jared had all agreed to become a foursome within the bigger 6-person now, 7 Deadly Sins. And yeah, 7 Deadly Sins, 6 people, doesn't matter. I'm still going to call it 7 Deadly Sins. But Matt, Blue, Cirie, and Jared have all agreed that, yes, we're going to keep the 7 Deadly Sins going. But within that group, the 4 of us we're going to be the core group. We're going to actually work together. Now, you notice Blue's not in that group. Nicole's not in that group either. But these 4 are saying they're going to work together and still keep the 7 Deadly Sins going also. And it does seem like Jag is still on board for that alliance. Maybe, sort of. Maybe he's just playing along, but certainly he's talking about the 7 Deadly Sins still going forward as the only real alliance in the house. Yeah, right. All right, we've got, let's see, what else we have? Just as an FYI, okay. Talking about who's not in this core group of 4 within 7 Deadly Sins. Let's talk about another little conversation that took place yesterday. Nicole and Felicia talking to each other, just kind of getting a flavor of the house, what's going on and what's happened and all that. But the end result is that eventually Felicia asked Nicole something about, I feel like maybe you don't feel comfortable or secure as maybe you want to with me and all that. So how about a final 2? So yes, we have a new final 2 formed. Nicole and Felicia. I think Nicole is a little bit more sincere about it than Felicia is. I think Felicia is doing it just to make sure that Nicole feels like she's still part of the group, still part of the Brown Sugar Babes, and some of these other alliances, they're still sitting out there. But they do have a final 2 that's been formed between the 2 of them, while you have on the other side Jared and Matt and Blue talking about them working as a foursome as well. Matt and Blue, Cirie and Jared. So again, Felicia and Nicole both left of that core 4, but they're looking at they're another alternative with that final 2. All right, we do have Cirie worried that if America and Corey stay, this is still talking to Matt, saying if America and Corey stay, and one of them was to win HOH, they would probably put her and Jared up. Yeah, I think that's feasible. But Matt is saying, you know what, America, yeah, maybe she would do that. I don't think Corey would. Corey wants to work with you, Cirie. America, perhaps. Corey is going to go a different direction with it. But Cirie is not convinced. She says she's worried that Corey may really be out for revenge, especially against Jared, considering everything that happened. So she's just not certain that Corey is going to be coming for them as well. Again, keep that in mind. If depending on this veto competition, if there may not be some thinking that maybe we get them out while we can and let Cameron just stay in here as an easy target for somewhere down the road. I'm not putting it past this house at all. So she's worried about Corey seeking revenge. But I think Matt's the one who's pointing out, say maybe, but neither one of them has even won anything yet. So they got to win something before they can come after you anyway. And they haven't done that. They haven't proven yet that they have the capability to do so. Blue later joins these two, and there's talk about maybe the seven deadly sins meeting a little bit later just to make sure everyone's comfortable and everyone's still tight and still committed to going forward with it. All right, that meeting was hard to have. As Cameron came up at one point, they're trying to get the six of them together. They wanted to do it while Cameron was in diary room, if I believe, but Jag was talking to America downstairs, I think, or someone, and Jared was off talking to Corey. I don't remember who's talking to, but they couldn't get it to happen while Cameron was in DR. He gets out of the DR. He comes upstairs to chat and visit. I think he actually came up to pitch to Jared, saying, please, I'll promise to save you if you promise to save me. That didn't go anywhere. But he came up to the HOH room for a little bit, and Matt and Blue and Cirie hid in the bathroom while he was there. Later, Mecole came up there to visit, and she's not part of the seven deadly sins either. So again, we had people hiding in the bathroom. They just couldn't get this meeting going. They're kind of criticizing Jag a little bit for maybe being one of the ones who wanted to have it, and he just hasn't bothered to come upstairs just yet. All right, we do have a difficult conversation between America and Cameron in the bathroom downstairs. Remember, I mentioned that Cameron had been part of conversation or overheard Corey and America talking about the order of who picks what for house guest choice. And sure enough, based on that, he tells America, says, look, I know that you aren't going to pick me to play in the veto competition, that it would hurt your game if you did so. That's fine. I'm a big boy. I understand, but just so you know. And America saying, well, yeah. Oh, he asked her, says, they gave you orders not to put me up, to pick me for veto, right? And she says, yeah, they did. And he says, yeah, I knew it, and I understand why you aren't going to pick me. And she kind of backs off a little bit, says, well, I'm not saying I've decided. I'm yes, that's the case, but I'm not saying I'm decided. But he knows that she's not going to pick him. She knows that he knows that she's not going to pick him. And it's a little tough situation because I think Cameron is realizing that he wanted to pull this group together and really have a majority against the other side. And there's still a possibility that could happen, but there's also a high possibility it's not going to include Cameron because at least for this week, he truly is alone. And I think he's feeling that. And America's feeling very bad knowing that he feels that. So that's a little bit rough. In fact, just a little bit after that, America gets in bed, her bed next to Corey's, and she's teary-eyed. She actually starts crying a little bit, pulls a blanket over her head for a little bit. She's upset that Cameron has no one in the house this week. Corey is talking to her and saying, look, yeah, it's rough and all that. But he says, on the other hand, even though we're both on the block, I think we're in a pretty good position right now. He says, anyone but Cameron wins this veto competition, and we should be good. We're both going to make it to another week, and that's what we have to do. And he says, and even if Cameron wins, hopefully he takes one of us off the block. We'll convince him to do that. That at that point, Jag can go home, or maybe Bowie Jane, someone other than the two of us. So, America, we should be good. And I think she understands that as well, but she's still feeling a little bit bad about Cameron. Eventually, they get over it. They have a little makeout session taking place after that. A lot of covers pulled up over him and all that. So, Corey's trying to make sure that America is cheered up a little bit. All right, another conversation. We've got Blue with Matt and Jag in the HOH room. I think Jared was gone. Maybe he's in the diary room at that point. I think so. So it's Blue and Matt and Jag up in the HOH room. Jag is talking about Cirie, and a little bit about Cirie, more even so about Jared, saying that they've been lying to him over and over again. He says, I've caught Jared in 3 different lies. Cirie lied to me. So maybe Jag isn't as sold on the 7 deadly sins as he's portraying it, because certainly, at least with Matt and Blue, God, why do you trust Blue? I'm still amazed at that. But he is saying, I've caught them both lying to me over and over again. Blue seems to be defending Jared. She's kind of taking his side and throwing out some counter arguments and things like that, which again would make me a little worried if I'm Jag and Matt. I guess this group really feels like they can trust each other. That no matter how much Blue's on the other side, she's not going to throw them to the wolves. We will see. But Blue seems to be defending Jared. Jag is telling Blue, saying, "Look, I'm rocking with Corey in America. That's who I want to go with going forward. That is my game plan." Blue saying, because of Jared, because of my relationship, I'm going to go a different route. Y'all just need to know I'm going a different route. She says, but you two, Matt and Jag, y'all are the only two in this house I trust 100%. Just because I'm going over here to this side doesn't mean I don't still trust y'all. I don't still want to work with y'all. I'm just having to do that for my own personal game. Blue is talking about a little strategy. Imagine that from Blue. A little strategy. She's saying, look, if we play this right, these two sides are going to go after other people within each of the two groups. They're going to go after them instead of us. That the three of us can play the middle. We can ride this out. We can come out on the other side looking good. We're not going to be floaters. We're not going to be coasters, anything like that. We're just going to make sure there's bigger targets on both sides, and we'll stick together at the end and watch out for each other. I kind of get what she's saying at that point in time. I just don't know where her true loyalties lie. Is she going to be fine if someone goes after Jared as long as she's got these two? Or is she going to try to make sure that doesn't happen? I don't know yet. Jag is saying that he doesn't want to abandon the 7 deadly sins right now. He wants to kind of continue to act a part of it, because if he doesn't, that the other side's going to know that that they can't trust him anymore. So he's trying to play the middle a little bit as well. Jag is also pointing out that this next HOH is going to be interesting. Now, we know it's a double. They don't. But he's saying the next HOH is going to be interesting because Jared can't play, and that they only have the mamas on that side to try and win. So it would seem that Jared could be very vulnerable to a backdoor himself next week. And I agree. I think that's a possibility. So they're feeling like that's a decent position to stay with the other side, that Jared could be in trouble next week. Blue talks about the fact, she says, look, we're going slightly different routes, but I still want to work with y'all. But I am okay if y'all want to go after Jared and potentially even evict Jared, as long as y'all are okay that I would potentially go after Corey and try to get him out before trying to go after anything with Jared. So they're recognizing they may have different ways of playing the game, different objectives, but hoping that they can still work together as long as the target doesn't get on them. So interesting conversation we had there. All right, eventually Jared does return to the HOH room. So the conversation shifts, as you would expect. They're talking about Bowie and wondering if she threw the wall comp, that she was so busy watching Blue and Jared, and as soon as Blue fell, and she was immediately gone. They basically have decided that yeah, she threw the competition, and talk about how she's just a floater in this game, that she's not doing anything for anyone, just trying to keep all the blood off her hands at this point. Conversation turns again to talk about the upcoming veto competition possibilities. What could it possibly be? Jared's making it obvious that he does not have any experience with Big Brother, because they're having to explain to him what OTEV is, what BB Comics is, what the guess, the count of something is, where you stay or fold. Some of these iconic competitions, and Jared's never heard any of them, has to have them all explained. So yeah, Jared does not have the Big Brother background that some of these house guests have. When Blue is explaining Big Brother to you, then that truly suggests that you are very much a rookie, a newbie, no experience with Big Brother whatsoever. All right, we've got Corey and Matt and Jag and America talking. I think this was in the downstairs bathroom, if I recall. They're wondering what Cameron's going to do if he does win the veto. Corey is saying, look, if Cameron wins the veto, he takes America off and puts Jag up instead. I'm pretty sure I'm going home. Jag's going to win the votes over myself. If Jag takes Corey's place instead, though, Corey's pulled off the block, so it's Jag versus America. He feels like Jag would go home at that point. So they're looking at the different possibilities. They don't like any of those whatsoever. And so what they want to do is they want to try to convince Jared that if Cameron does win veto, if he does pull either Corey or America, either one off the block, don't put up Jag. Yeah, don't do that. Instead, put up Bowie Jane. And so they're going to get Matt and Jag to try to talk to Jared. They're going to do what they can to keep that from happening. But someone points out, and I tend to agree with this, if they put Bowie up there, does Jared really want to use this HOH to get rid of Bowie Jane instead of a bigger target? I don't think that's going to be the case. So if Cameron wins veto, the only way they can convince Jared to do something like that is if they convince him that Bowie is such a pawn that Corey goes home automatically in that case. It's going to be a lot of work to do, and we're getting ahead of the game since we haven't had the veto competition yet. So we'll just leave that right there. But a lot of talk about that. There's a lot of talk about yesterday's arguments. They're rehashing it yet again between everyone. Jag is pointing out again his belief that Cirie is really covered on all sides, that she's got protection from everyone, that she's got relationships, she's got hooks in with everyone, that she is very safe going forward, and he's worried about that. Matt's talking about Jared and Izzy and Felicia and Blue. Well, not Felicia, she was HOH that week. Talk about Jared and Izzy and Cirie and Blue were the first ones out of the pressure cooker competition. And he's saying now it makes sense. They all felt safe. They didn't think they were in any trouble. So, of course, they dropped out of that competition early. And then they had 4 or 5 hours to talk to each other, to strategize, to plot, to figure out how to play against the rest of us, while we were all out there still trying to compete, trying to win that competition. So Matt sounded a little sour as well, regardless of how much time he has spent with that side. All right, eventually we got Bowie Jane joining the group. Not a whole lot of conversation game talk-wise. There is talk about how many alliances are out there. Bowie Jane saying, I don't like all these alliances. I'm tired of it. She's wondering how Cirie and Jared and Felicia kept up with them all with so many going on. I wonder that as well. I had a hard time keeping up with them. They didn't always keep up with them as well as they should have. There was a slip here or there. But Bowie Jane's wondering how you could possibly have that many alliances inside this house. All right, then finally we got Matt and Jag. The late night bromance continues. Jag is saying that the two of them and America and Corey, a group of 4, he'd love to work with going forward. But also mentioning the saying, but Matt, we also have you and me and Blue. So 2 separate groups. I won't call them alliances yet, but 2 separate groups working together. And they're saying that they want to work with both, but really America and Corey is who they trust. Not so much with Blue. So maybe they're seeing the light. They're going to work with Blue as a group of 3, but Corey and America is who they really trust as a group of 4 going forward. Then finally, we've got Jag saying that they need to side with Corey and America going forward, that he doesn't trust Jared, and Matt saying, yeah, I don't either. He said, if we're going to stick with 7 deadly sins, or if we're going after 7 deadly sins, either way, we got to get Jared out. So he's target number 1. Cameron target number 1 this week. I truly think Jared target number 1 next week for anyone except maybe Felicia and Cirie winning HOH. So it's going to be interesting. But again, we got several days before that. We got the veto competition. So with that, everyone in bed by 2:45 or so in the morning, getting ready for the veto competition itself today, getting ready for the veto draw. Again, that's going to be as exciting as anything. And normally that isn't the case. So vetoes today. After that, then we'll have a better feel about what's going to happen. So I will be back tomorrow to talk about that, talk about repercussions, who may be on the block come Thursday, all the good stuff as well. Guys, y'all have a fantastic Saturday. Until tomorrow morning, SKD 143. Cheers, my friends, and Giga Maggies as well, playing today. Y'all have a great one. Cheers, guys. Bye.